Welcome to the exclusive. I'm your host, Sharon Tharp. I have a very fun guest today. I don't think it's a secret that I love BB16. I'm sorry for the people that think it's boring. I get it, blah, blah, blah. But also, I just love catching up with people who sort of took a step back and aren't always on social media and in the spotlight all the time. So, I reached out to this guy and he was nice enough to say yes. So, welcome, Big Brother 16 house guest, Devin Shepherd, to the podcast. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, thank you for reaching out. Yeah,
Of course.
I'm a house guest that has completely disappeared into the darkness of regular life. So,
And you know
yeah,
what? I don't hate that. I think sometimes, especially now with social media, it's like people do go on the show for sort of a following. But do you think that was different since, I mean, what, it was 10 years ago at this point?
yeah, it was 10 years ago. It's crazy. I'm 4 years away from 40. I think back then I didn't really know what to expect. Looking at it, there was still like a social media following. I mean, you look at Frankie. Frankie was a YouTuber. He had all of his, his little things. And I mean, people had their little followings in the house where people were trying to get camera time over here. And, people would wake up in the middle of the night and you'd catch somebody talking to the cams over here trying to do their stuff. So I think it was something that was coming up. I didn't take full advantage of like that social media having a following afterwards because I kind of hid from all that stuff. But I know some people did, and they have like a huge following now. And I mean, I guess it's doing something for them. That's a cool thing. So
Yeah. Well, so catch us up, like give us the overview, like after the show, and share what only you're comfortable sharing, but like, yeah, how's the family? How's your daughter? How's life overall?
yeah, yeah. So after Big Brother, I went into law enforcement for about 4 years. I was working as a corrections officer out in New Mexico for about 4 years, and that was cool. It was fine, but I mean, you can only imagine working in a prison. It can only do so much for you, I guess. And then I started working in private security after that for a family. And I did that up until about a year ago. So I was in-house private security for a family. I was traveling with them. I was like on a 7 day on, 7 day off schedule. And it was neat. It was cool, but I didn't get a lot of time with my family. I was gone probably more than half the year traveling and stuff like that. So that was difficult. But now, I mean, now I'm doing what am I doing? Gosh, I am freelance audio engineering now. So I work in a studio out in Studio City in Hollywood. So I'm a tracking and mixing engineer, and that's just something I've had a passion doing for a long time. So that's something I'm chasing, and it gives me a lot more time at home with the kids. Yeah, I don't have just a daughter now. I have two and one on the way. We have one born in or
Congrats.
coming in December. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. So yeah, yeah, super, super
Amazing.
blessed, super grateful. Yeah, just life is just going crazy. So that's about that,
So Devin, are you ever walking down the street and someone's like, you look like that guy from Big Brother? How often does that happen?
Some
Or not really anymore?
yeah, it happens. It happens a good amount, depending on where I'm at. So home in Santa Barbara, it happens a good amount. Um, but it's not so much anymore. I think my wife and I were. I'm married now, by the way. Sorry.
Oh,
My wife's gonna
congrats.
watch this later and be like, "How come you didn't talk about me?" Yeah, thank you. Um,
Aw.
yeah, my wife and I were checking into a hotel maybe like a year ago, and somebody had like said something when we were checking in. Yeah, I think just with my size, smile, things like that, and just my mannerisms, demeanor, you can kind of put two and two together. But it's been so long. I think the most uncomfortable situation I ever had. I went to medic school, so I'm a paramedic as well. But I went to medic school maybe 2 years after Big Brother was done. I'm going through a drive-through somewhere, and somebody's handing me my food, and they said, "Hey, are you as crazy in real life as you were on the show?" And I was like, "Jesus Christ!" I'm like, "God, come on, man." So like, I just took my food and went. But yeah, you get like comments like that, which aren't the greatest, but it's cool. It's what it is.
Yeah, of course. Always gonna be random people saying stuff. But have you like stayed up with the show or did you take a break? I know you're kind of keeping up with it a little bit this season, right? Or
Yeah, so I'm like a closet Big Brother fan. So I was live streaming for the first couple seasons that after BB16, so I would actually like live stream and stuff like that, and watch the feeds, not live stream, but live feed and stuff. And then work just got too much. I was traveling a lot, like I said, and it kind of became a secondary thing. So I would binge watch the seasons later. And I think I might have taken a couple seasons off, and then I think I came back and binge watched all the way through when we had the cookout season. I felt bad for
Mhm.
not watching that live, so I went back and watched that one. So I'm pretty much up to date on all the seasons, but I don't watch it regularly like I used to. I'm still a fan, but not like I used to.
It's like a full-time job keeping up with Big Brother. It really is. So I get it.
Yeah, I mean it is, and it's cool. I mean, just the demographic. I think the demographics also changed from when I was on it, and the cast types and things like that. They change, and I think they improve. Because I feel like you can always go in and say, "Oh, look, there's a Cody, there's a Derek, there's a Jocasta, there's a somebody in this season," and you can kind of compare and see where casting's at that year. And casting's gotten really good. They have very interesting characters, very interesting, and I call them characters; they're people, but that's they're in there being themselves, an animated version of themselves, an exaggerated version of themselves. So I think the show's this year, obviously this year, I think it's a great season this year, and it keeps developing and getting better. And I think they're going with a different casting company, so I think it's going to continue to evolve and get better. So
Yeah, I agree. I'm really enjoying this season. And honestly, I call them characters too because I don't, yes, we're seeing these real life people, but like they're still in this weird social, weird social experiment where you can't even go outside or look at your phone. So I don't know. I think to an extent, I always say like, I don't know these people. We're still judging them from just what we see. So anyway, I always say the same
right,
thing.
right.
Characters. Can you tell me a little bit about your casting experience? Like, did you apply? Were you a fan or were you reached out to? Because I don't know if I know this story.
Yeah, no. So I had never seen Big Brother. I'd heard of Big Brother. I'd never seen Big Brother. When I was reached out to during casting, I was dating a girl. I think when I was like 25. Her favorite show was Amazing Race. So her mom and I, on whatever night Amazing Race would come out, we would sit down on the couch and we'd watch Amazing Race like religiously. So it'd be my girlfriend and her mom. And she came home one day and she's like, "Hey, can we put in a casting tape?" And I wasn't like super fond of it. I wasn't super fond of reality TV or like being on TV for that matter. And so I did it just to appease her and her mom. And so we broke up, and 9 months had gone by. I had moved out to Texas to kind of heal from like this relationship or whatever. And then Big Brother called like 5 days after I'd been out in Texas. And then, the rest is history. We did the whole fly you out to LA, do the casting stuff. The longer you stay in LA is how they tell you, the better shot you have of making the show. So they're flying people in on like a Monday and then literally flying them out hours later because production didn't, they weren't what production had liked, I guess, or what production had thought was coming. And so I think we ended up staying there for an entire week. They had like a final of like 30 some odd people. And they had 2 rounds of casting. So I was in the second round of casting. They didn't find everybody in the first round. So Derek, Cody, all the East Coast guys were picked in the first round of casting. And then it was like kind of like I call us the fill-ins. It was me, Caleb, gosh, Joey, Amber,
Mm.
Brittany, Paula. So yeah, it was all of us in the final rounds of casting. And then I think 6 weeks later, then they did the kidnapping, and then we were all doing the show and stuff like that. So that's how I remember it. But it was a good experience. CBS did a really good job. Fly on the Wall did a really great job, and then Casting Inc. did a great job with the casting. So we're super, super grateful to be there. So as you can imagine, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity that you kind of got to soak in. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
This is like the age old question, but who from the cast do you still keep in touch with, if anyone?
nobody,
Really? Not one person?
nobody. Yeah, and that's look, and I'll be honest, like that's a big part of it's me. A big part of it is just people going different directions in their life, and people wanted different things from that. I lived with Amber, not like that. I lived with Amber when I was going in my first portion of medic school. I was going to school down in like Long Beach, and obviously I was living up in Santa Barbara, and I wasn't going to commute. So during the week, I'd stay and sleep on Amber's couch. And like, yeah, so I was staying with Amber. So I got to know Amber like really well for a while after that. And her roommate was Judd, of all people. So I'm living with Judd and Amber.
Oh.
Yeah. So random. And so, but after that, I mean, there was a lot of immaturity that I had to like, grow from, as you could see on the show. There was a lot of things that I had to like probably improve on. You can't walk around like, being labeled as like, oh, I'm super dad, and I got to remember I was 26 back then, 26, 27. So a lot of relationships from on the show and stuff like that, I don't think I really wanted to keep, because I saw myself in an odd light
Hmm.
when I got to see the tapes and stuff. And I realized it's like, dude, I had a lot of maturing and growing to do. And I think back then it was easier for me to tuck my tail and just kind of like let me do my growing by myself, where people can't see me, hence no social media, hence all that stuff. And yeah, and I think it was good for me, but at the same time, I wasn't able to keep those relationships with people from the show. And then I probably should have, it would have been nice.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. I've talked to a lot of former players, and, some are keeping in touch with, some don't. It's kind of like that high school situation where you're like, there's still a fondness there. And if you run into people, it's probably fine. But like, you don't have time to keep up with everyone, especially if people go different ways. But I
Right.
also respect like the people that come out of the house and do want to take what because it's hard to watch yourself. Like, I don't know if I could do that. So, the fact that you come out and you want to grow as a person, and whether you do that publicly or not, I think that's commendable, because I don't think everyone does that. So that's nice to hear, because yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, watching yourself on TV, I don't even like watching myself in these interviews, and so I pick myself apart. So I can't imagine being on TV.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, I think it's for everybody, it's different. I think, gosh, when I look back, I mean, you got to just the different type of people that you had in the house. I mean, you had somebody like Derek, who, I mean, seeing Derek after knowing Derek, we kept in touch for a little bit afterwards. Derek, Cody, and I for a little bit. Um, Cody is just a very intelligent guy. Derek is again very intelligent, very business savvy. Both of them, I think, they come from great families, and they had a goal and they had a process. Cody had a process after Big Brother that he wanted to see through, and he went after being in films and modeling and doing everything like that, and he accomplished so much. And then he was able to circle back, and he's pretty much like a Big Brother ambassador now, right?
Yeah.
And Derek's the same way. I mean, you look at all these different personalities, and then you look at the complete polar opposite, and you look at Frankie. Like, Frankie's just an entertainer. He's an entertainer, and this whole thing was set up for him to platform himself into entertainment. So I think with so many, what I'm trying to get at is with so many different, um, I guess with so many different styles, so many different people that have different avenues they want to go down, and they can get to. I don't think everybody's going to stay in touch, 100%, So,
Of course.
yeah, I think Derek's doing his private investigator. And then I know he had his TV show for the longest time, which is actually really good. So it's just, I don't expect somebody with that schedule. He used to hit me up when he'd fly into LA, and he'd be like, "Hey, I'm at that hotel we were sequestered at for Big Brother." And it's just like, cool, but I'm nowhere near that hotel right now. So it's just like, everybody's doing their thing, so it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty friendly with Derek, and even I don't even get to talk to him that much, because yeah, he's running around. He has a lot going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious. Like, so did you get out of the house and did you watch your season, or did you catch clips of it, or because I know some people
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. Unfortunately, I did. When I got out of the house, I went. I didn't go back to Texas. I think I stayed in. I didn't. I don't think I stayed in Santa Barbara for about a month or two, to stay with my daughter's mom at the time and my daughter, to spend some extra time with them and stuff. and I tried to watch the season right away as it was going. That was rough. That was really
Yeah.
rough. I didn't realize I made so many facial expressions. I didn't know I was so exaggerated with my facial expressions. I didn't know I came off some of the way I did, you know, and and there's so much backstory behind that that I mean I want to tell that I've never told why there was so much going on, but yeah, I didn't. It was really rough to watch. So I think I watched half of the episodes I was on. I stopped watching it. I didn't watch the rest of the season. I went back for the finale and still not watching the season. I think a couple months after I watched the rest of it, you know, and it was rough for me. So
I know you mentioned like there's obviously some backstory, and is there anything you would want to say? Because this is a good platform. You don't have to by any means, but if it's personal, but if there's anything
yeah,
specific,
no, I
like
mean,
your open floor.
yeah, no, I've talked about it a little bit, not a whole lot on specific platforms, but yeah, like going into Big Brother, you know, like I think I lied my ass off on the application. Uh, uh, I was diagnosed with social anxiety when I was playing baseball with the Cardinals. There's a big reason why I didn't finish playing baseball with the Cardinals. I had failed so many drug tests when I was with the Cardinals because I was self-medicating with benzodiazepines, which was Xanax. And I was prescribed Xanax, but I was over medicating with it, and I had a hard addiction, and I was in and out of rehab. What from the age of like 21 to like 22, like two or three times, and it was just really rough. And so when I got a glimpse of like sobriety, it was right before like I went on Big Brother, and I'm still trying to get everything together. I'm still very nervous around people at the time. So going into Big Brother, I had medication. I don't know if you guys remember that big blow up that Zach was talking about. Devin goes into the DR and he takes X amount of milligrams of Adderall a day just to function. He wasn't wrong. It wasn't Adderall, but it was something else that I was prescribed um, for um, for anxiety and ADHD. And I'm not afraid to talk about it. It's part of my story. I've worked in treatment as a counselor. I've worked in treatment as just a sober coach. You know, so I'm very proud to talk about it and to give that little backstory that a lot of those facial expressions was because I was either coming down from something or I had just went into the DR and they gave you my daily dose, and that's just how it went. You know, unfortunately, because I was on such a high level of prescription medication that they were giving me, and they couldn't just take me off of it for the show. So
Mm.
I had to suck. I had to wear that one pretty hard, you know, and I'm grateful that CBS handled it the way they did, and you know, and I'm grateful that they they still talk to me for some of the stuff that I did off camera, you know, but you know, that was really what was going on in that show. You're watching me detox every single day. You're watching me go in there, and I wasn't harmful to anybody. It's not like a anger thing. It was just you were watching multiple personalities, and it was truly that's what it was. So when they did that Mr. Personality comic book sketch, I had to laugh, and that was what was tough to wear because yeah, I was crying one minute, I was happy one minute, and then I was like ready to go home. I kept trying to self evict when I was inside the house, and um, I think producers would call me into the room and say, "Hey, you said that you would compete all the way to the end, no matter what." And then the athlete in me would be like, "You're right, I did. So I'm gonna see this through." You know. So there were so many things going on in there.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I definitely think that's a part of reality TV that probably isn't talked a lot about. Mental health, for sure, especially with men. I think it's always been sort of a taboo subject, and I think we're getting better about it. I was just talking to Tyler Chrisman about that as well. But then addiction, that's a whole other thing. And it's like, yeah, it gives context. And I think, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And you know what? When you say you were 26, I forgot that because you're such like a tall, big guy. I think when I was watching it, and we're not far, we're pretty much the same age. I don't know. I just felt like you were older than you were. And like, if I was looking back at myself at 26, I didn't know shit. So like, that's also interesting because I think, yeah, that has, there's something there as well where I just, yes, also because you were a dad, maybe I also thought you were old. I don't know. That's so interesting though.
Perfect example. Look at Derek, look at Donnie, and then look at Victoria, right? Just look at the
Mm,
personalities and stuff like in the house and just how reserved Victoria was. Victoria did not want to play the game at all. And it's not because she couldn't play the game. She was very confident. She's a very confident person. Um, uh, Overly confident, like not a bad way. She's very, very confident in who she is, right? Um, but she just being in the house, it was just like, dude, you're with a bunch of kids and you're with a bunch of mature people. So it's just like it's really difficult to kind of see the balance and stuff. And so you kind of act like one side of the house or not. So at 26, I didn't get it. I think I was a little bit in my head, I was acting immature, but I saw myself as wanting to hang out with Derek and the Donnies and things like that. And I couldn't really relate to the other side of the house. And so, I mean, I just think that the age stuff does play a role. And I was a kid. I was still a kid thinking I was so much older because I was a parent. And, yeah, it's just wild. I was a kid. So,
oh my gosh. What do you think,
yeah.
what do you attribute to as like your downfall as a player in the game? I know it's
um,
a hard question, but
yeah. Yeah. Not being well educated in Big Brother enough, thinking that I could probably, because so from the moment casting took place, um, gosh, I want to say I watched season 10, 11, 12, 13 in the span of like 6 weeks. And then when you get to sequester, I watched season 15, and that probably wasn't the best season to watch right before my season. That definitely influenced everybody. I think they wanted us to watch that so we knew what not to do, but then they also wanted us to watch it so that like, that there was some, I don't know, they forced us to watch certain seasons. So I wasn't
mm,
educated in the game. And then coming in playing super, super fast. When you're sequestered for 7 to 14 days before you actually move into the house, and then you finally get to the house, it's like lights, camera, action, let's go. For me,
yeah.
not being a fan, right? Not being a fan, but then you have Derek. Again, I go back to Derek. You go to, and Donnie, and then even Nicole, excuse me, and even Nicole. Those were, I think, the three biggest Big Brother fans on our season. And I might be forgetting one or two, but those three were strategically playing the game from start to finish because they knew what to expect. They were true fans. And so I wish I just could have, had a little bit of less Big Brother ignorance and just played the game a little bit slower. Um,
Mm.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know what I could have necessarily done other than maybe shut my mouth, not been in that big ass room forming that alliance, of course. But
I mean, you're not wrong in saying that like those big alliances do tend to run the table if you can get them early. So like that instinct was probably correct. I think it was probably the wrong group of people, and then it was the adding Christine and like those kinds of things that sort of didn't help. But I think the instinct to want to create a big alliance, I mean, at that time especially, I think that just yeah, it worked to some
yeah,
extent, right? So you did end up going out week three-ish, I think, or maybe on Derek's HOH, and he went on to win the game. What I'm curious what your thoughts are on Derek and Cody's game overall when you got to watch it back.
yeah. I mean, I said it like in the backyard when I talked to Jeff that night. I still remember it clear. I still think that if Cody would have just, you know, picked a little bit better at the end, he would have been the winner. And but
Mm,
he will refute that. People will argue against that because they say that people wouldn't have respected his move in the jury house. I don't think Derek would have had enough time to go out there and sully the jury on stage. I just don't think he would have had enough time because Victoria, I watched her come out and she didn't have enough time to say Jack Diddley. So, um, anyways, that being said, but watching Derek play, um, yeah, I used to say that there wasn't a lot of competition for Derek. He mowed us all down. But then when you look back and time has prevailed, there's no other season that has had as many winners as 16.
yep.
So we have Nicole, we've got Cody, we've got Derek. I've seen uh, what is it, Nicole and Cody on reindeer
Hmm.
shenanigans, whatever. Yeah, so but yeah, and they're doing great. So I I don't think I'd ever want to see Derek play again because I think they would take away from the mystique of
Hmm.
what he can or what he's done. But yeah, I think he's a great player nonetheless. I don't know if like you can say that he's one of the tops because he didn't come back for All Stars. Um, but yeah, he's still one of the greats.
If you were in that jury, would you have voted for Cody or Derek?
I'm a gosh, I'm such a like back then. I was such a vindictive ass. I would have voted for Cody's and just for just the way that Derek, our side conversations we had in the house, because I saw everything Derek was doing the week I was going home. I knew what was going to happen. I knew the week before what was going to happen if certain people took power. Um, and then I watched it. But what I didn't like is that Derek during the game, and he tries to do this to save face. It's Big Brother. I would literally go up to him and tell him, I said, "This is what you're gonna do." "Oh no, that's not what I'm gonna do." And then he'd go do it. I'm like, bro, just be straight up with me and just be straight up with me and just like, this is what's gonna happen. And he would never do it. So I was getting bitter that last week, and I was just like, whatever, man. And then I think that last week, Cody and I had like a really honest conversation that they captured for an episode where I think I talked about going to rehab and what was important to me. And it was an actual genuine conversation. And I think it was one of the first times that Cody and I were able to talk as if no cameras were on. And so I think that just from that little thing, being able to get to know Cody a little bit better, I would have voted for Cody. But I'm a vindictive guy, so
I mean, the self-awareness is, I appreciate that. Like, you own it. Um,
yeah.
what about Nicole? She's gone on to have a career. She went on to win. She won reindeer games. What do you think about her? And then obviously you can talk about if you watched BB All Stars because it ended up being Cody and her, which is another interesting thing.
Yeah, yeah. Nicole is so funny. Nicole's a sweetheart. There's nothing that anybody could say bad about Nicole. I think somebody got into I think in All Stars, yeah, she got into a little tiff. Nicole, if you don't know Nicole, she can come off as annoying, right? If you're not a Nicole fan, she can come off as annoying. I get it. I just remember Nicole as being the girl in casting. Her and I were riding in a van and we hit a speed bump. We're not allowed to talk to each other. Her and I are sitting next to each other. We hit a speed bump and her and I go flying in this van. We hit our heads in this casting van and her and I just look at each other and we just start laughing. And then all of a sudden we're in the house together and this is the girl that's afraid of ghosts, and that Michigan accent, whatever it is. But to see her go out and play, I'm not surprised. She's a super fan. She studies the game. She's a smart girl. Like, there's no way that you can put that girl inside of a game like Big Brother that she's watched since she was a kid over and over and over and over and expect her not to get better and to succeed at it. So yeah, bravo to her. I'm glad that she's had the opportunities to go back and to do those things. A lot of people don't get that opportunity. So for her to be able to go back and do that, that's awesome. And for her and Cody to be down at the end, again, it's another testament to how good of players really that were really on BB16. So
Yeah. And there's also I think, Frankie, he was a big personality. He also, I thought, was an underrated player. I think not in the house, but like outside the house, I think people forget that he was a good player. And I'm curious your thoughts on Frankie. And then also just like when you found out that he was Ariana's brother or whatever.
yeah. um, yeah. You got to be real careful when you talk about Frankie. There's a whole army that follows.
Yeah.
No, Frankie's a good guy. Um, I think I don't know. I think Frankie's a good player. I don't think I have enough sample size of Frankie as Frankie the game player versus Frankie the performer, if that makes sense. I see a lot of Frankie, Grande. I
Hmm.
want to see just Frankie. like, playing the game and actually strategizing and not worrying about a fan base. And I'm not knocking Frankie by any means. I want to see him actually play the game, and he does play the game. He's a good strategizer. He's a good player, but I don't think he's as good as Daniel Reyes. And that's
I
just
mean,
my
yeah, I think
personal
that's fair.
opinion. Yeah, and I don't think, and I'm my whole thing is I think that there are certain people that get more opportunities than other just because of the fan base that they tend to bring, obviously, because you got to sell a product. And I'm not knocking Frankie by any means, but I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's that great. And I think production helped him out a lot in 16. I do. Going back and watching it, I truly do. It's yeah. I think there was a competition A, competition B when Caleb didn't want to
Yep.
participate, and they went with competition B. So that's what happened.
Mm. I mean, you're
I'm
probably
not
not
bitter at
wrong.
all. I'm not
So
bitter at all. I was gone. I was gone already. I'm not bitter. I'm just being honest right now. So it is what it is.
yeah, no, exactly. This is not a personal thing. This is just like we're talking about the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then I totally forgot about Zach, which I don't even know how I forget about Zach Rance because he's such a big personality as well. What are your thoughts looking back on him? Because you guys got into it a little bit.
So what people don't know, so Zach and so when Big Brother was still going on, they flew me back out to LA. I got cast on Amazing Race, the blind date season. I got cast, passport was going around. I got cold feet, and I was like, I don't want to do this reality thing. Give me my passport back. They said, are you sure? Yeah, cool. Months go by. Lynn Spillman, who's the casting director for I think Survivor and Amazing Race, calls me and goes, "Hey, we want to give you another shot with Zach Rance. You and Zach on Amazing Race." I was like, fuck, why? I was like, really? I was like, so I don't know where I was at. I can't remember. I was in a parking lot somewhere and I'm like, hang on. So I text Zach. I was like, hey, Zach, do you want to do this thing? And I said, hey, do you have a minute to talk? He responds back with, I already know what you want to ask me. And the answer is yes. And I was like, cool. Weeks go by and I find out that they had asked Cody first. They had asked Frankie first. Frankie said no. They had asked Cody second. Cody said no. So then they came to me. Long story short, we obviously never did it. Something got buckled up, but that was gonna be our rekindling of BB16. They were gonna put us on a team together for Amazing Race. But Zach is an awesome kid. I don't care what anybody says. Um, I know he went in search and discovery in his own way in life and stuff like that. I saw Zach at an award show uh, years ago, and Brittany, Zach, and I presented an award at I think at the Reality TV Awards, and he's an interesting character. There's no in between with Zach. You either love Zach or you don't love Zach. He's full throttle. There's no half switch. But he genuinely is a good kid. I've had moments, private moments with him, um, off the show where we're just talking about life, talking about his family, talking about college, just random conversations. And he's genuinely just a good kid, a good, well-rounded kid, another kid from a great family. And what he went through on the show. Again, I don't know how much that's all legit. I don't know how much of all of that is legit at all. I think there was an opportunity for him to be a showman. I think there was an opportunity for him to make a name for himself and to do some things, and he took full advantage of that. And yeah, that's Zach, man. Good for him.
Do you get PTSD when you watch Tucker this season? Because I feel like Tucker and Zach are similar like characters.
What did they call Tucker on one of the episodes? The Boston Jim Carrey. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's accurate. But I do see a lot of the energy is Zach. The energy is Zach. The I don't when he was gonna I think the way they edited it on the episode where he was thinking about going up again or not or using the veto not on himself or whatever it was the other night. And I was just like,
Yep.
please don't, bro. I was like, please don't do that. But yeah, he definitely gives off Zach energy. But it's like he takes it to the level where it's like almost too much, and then he brings it right back down, and then he just does this, and it's like, all right, bro, and you like it, but then it's like,
Yeah.
so. But yeah, he
As a
gives
viewer,
Zach
I
energy.
like it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think I think the only difference between Zach and Tucker, I think Tucker's not punching himself square in the eye, giving himself a black eye, and I think that that might be worrisome to production trying to bring Zach back. So when Zach's doing that kind of stuff,
Uh,
uh, yeah,
I'm trying to think, and who else from your seat? Like Donnie, I know you guys had a quick alliance. Caleb, any thoughts on those guys?
yeah. I mean, Donnie, that's funny with that alliance. God, this just goes to show you how like deer in the headlights I was going into that house when Donnie and I formed that double D alliance. I didn't remember it. I legit didn't remember it. Production called me into the DR and they go, "Hey, so let's talk about you got the first alliance of the year." And I was like, "No, I don't." That's literally what I said to this little camera that's in, and they got the speaker in that room. And I'm like, "No, I don't." And they go, "Yeah, you formed the an alliance with Donnie." And I go, "No, I didn't." I was like adamantly telling him I was getting mad. I was like, "No, I didn't. Why do you keep telling me this?" So then they take a minute and they go back and obviously they're running through tape and they go, "Yeah, you guys called it the Double D Alliance." Da 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 da. I was like, "Did I really?" And they go, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh shit." So that's how that really happened. So then I had to roll with it. But when I look back on it like a jackass, that was probably a godsend, and I should have just rolled with that alliance. And it would probably me and Donnie would have probably gone pretty deep in the game if it would have just been me and him. So Donnie, I've seen Donnie at a charity event uh, once or twice. Donnie's an awesome dude. I wish I would have kept in touch with Donnie more. He's actually a really fun guy to be around. Outside in real life, Donnie's a fun guy to be around. So Cody, I mean not Cody, but Caleb. I haven't really talked to Caleb. Last time I saw Caleb was when we did the Bold and the Beautiful shoot. So that was like literally days after the finale. I know he's gone on to do Survivor twice. I think twice, right?
Once. Wait, yeah,
Once,
twice.
yeah.
You're right.
So
I don't
yeah, he
remember.
got medevaced off, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone to do his thing. I know he's got a family of his own. Um, yeah, I don't have anything good or bad to say about Caleb. I know nothing about him anymore. So
So talk to me about that Bold and the Beautiful. How was that experience? Because like you come out of the house, yeah, and talk to me about coming out of the house as well. Like what that experience was like. I'm sure it was weird, but did you get negativity right away? Did you feel positivity? And then yeah, just talk to me about that.
yeah, it was mixed. So coming out of the house, we'll start there. Coming out of the house is very, very odd. So the whole time I was on Big Brother, I was trying to use it as a potential maybe platform because again, I didn't know anything about Big Brother. So I'm like, hey, you never know what could come from this. So I was that guy that was like, maybe. So when it was coming down to it, and I realized there was like, I thought I was going to go through Big Brother, and there was not going to be any animosity. I was going to get along with everybody. I was going to be the most liked guy in the house. I was just everything was going to be good, even if I didn't win. So when those things don't happen, um, what immediately started going through my mind was, how am I going to be received when the show's over? And I think I talked about, when my daughter sees this, and then people were making comments, like your daughter's two, your daughter, she's not. There's something called the internet, people. Like she can go back and play this, whenever she wants, and she
Today.
has. Yeah, she's 12 now, so um, yeah. So it's just like I was worried about those kinds of things. Definitely was. I didn't know what I sounded like. I didn't know what I looked like on camera. I didn't know what the edits looked like. So when I think I got voted out, and I knew I was getting voted out, and I came out to like a nice reception. It was cool, but it was super weird because like that first night they sequester you with like off-duty LAPD officers in like a hotel, and you got an adjoining door, and you can hang out with them, watch movies, order all the food you want, but you got to keep the door open just for safety because you've kind of been in this game for so long. They just want to make sure you're mentally okay. And yeah, I just remembered like taking like a long shower, and when the shower was done, I felt like this sense of wasn't accomplishment, it wasn't relief, it was an instant sense of failure. Like I fucking fucked up. Excuse me, I don't know if I can say that.
Oh
I
no, you're
I
fine. You can
messed
curse.
up. Okay. Yeah, like I really, really dropped the ball on life. That's how I felt. It was just this overwhelming feeling. Um, and that was immediately coming out. And so then you get the mixed bag of, you get the mixed bag. I think I had like the social media thing went up for me, and then, you get a good following. But then after that, it's just like, what's the point? What's next? What am I doing again at 26? As a parent and somebody that still has aspirations and dreams and goals, what's next for me? I'm not trying to be this reality TV guy. I'm not trying to. There are people that have actually taken advantage of this. Look at Jesse. I know Jesse outside of Big Brother. Jesse's taken advantage of it, and he has a career of some sort doing what he does with wrestling and some soap opera stuff and television. There are people that can do that, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be taken seriously in life after what I had just done. And I wanted to, not saying you can't with Big Brother, but I didn't want to be a gimmick. And I can't tell you how many relationships I went into after Big Brother and meeting like the family members of the person I was dating, or meeting the
Yeah.
parents specifically. I had one girl I was actually engaged to for a minute out in New Mexico. Her mom literally yelled at me. She didn't like me. It's totally cool. She didn't like me, and she yelled at me one day, and she's like, "You're just a fucking gimmick." And I was like, the
Wow.
fuck. I was like, yeah. And I was just like, but I got a mixture of that. So a lot of people don't know how to differentiate between, hey, dude, a lot of things you're seeing are played up for the camera. A lot of things you're seeing are genuinely me. Sorry, I got a work in progress. And then, a lot of things you're seeing could be edits, could be this, could be taken out of context. So that was difficult. That was difficult. But I think I did a good job of just kind of like just bearing everything and just going. Kind of like going after certain things I wanted personally and professionally. So that was a cool thing.
Yeah, no, I
I
think
know you had a
that's
second
smart
question. I
because
totally forgot what it is.
no, I think you answered it. God, now I'm like,
Okay,
what did I
cool, cool.
ask? But yeah, I know. I think there are people that come out and they're very defensive and they double down on sort of their behavior. And again, not saying any of your stuff was like as bad as some other people, but yeah, I think it's just important that if you're a person who wants to grow and reflect, like whatever that looks like, I think that's commendable. And especially like I said, this is such a weird. It's not reality TV in itself is a strange thing, but like Big Brother being locked in a house where you're not exposed to the outside world and can't even go outside certain days, like it's just such a weird thing.
Right, right. And yeah, I don't think it's the downtime that you don't equate for, because it's just like you think that you're going to be playing games all the time, running around. I know people have said it a lot. You think you're going to be running around playing games and all this other stuff, and then all of a sudden, when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and the backyard's closed and you're just pacing around the kitchen. I mean, good God, people wonder why literally you gain another freshman 15 in that house. Sometimes it's like you wonder why, but
Yeah.
there's no
Well,
alcohol, so that's all food.
exactly.
Oh,
I'm also a neat freak, so I was watching some clips, and I know you were like, why, Brittany? Why is your like lotion in the kitchen? That would be me. Like, I'd be like, why is your stuff everywhere?
again, backstory. There's backstories. I can justify just about anything in life, but there is a backstory to that damn fucking lotion thing. They fucking, that was a great edit, little bastards. Uh, Nah, so like, and I don't know exactly how it went down on the live feed either, but so I'm gonna try and like clean it up and catch myself. But Amber and I the night before, so there was something going on in the house between Amber and I before Caleb, before the live feeds came on. Amber had basically told me that like, oh, you're my type, yada yada yada. I had said to her, hey, not on the show. I got a kid. I promised I wouldn't be doing a showman's thing, and I got my daughter's mother's watching, and that's kind of so yeah. Mm-mm.
Hmm.
So we had already made that agreement, that was what it was. Then Caleb came in real hard for us. So me and Amber were hanging out at night. before live feeds came on. And so we would just hang out and clean the kitchen and do stuff. And one night, her and I couldn't sleep. She made iced coffee. We were up all night, but we'd clean the kitchen and the bathroom top to bottom, top to bottom. And I was going on no sleep. Again, probably thanks to the coffee and whatever I was getting in the DR from production. But like, so I'm running around, and then I think the first thing I see was like this lotion bottle sitting in the, whenever Brittany had gotten up or whenever I had seen it again. So my mind again just goes to the Virgo mentality I have, was like, yo, Amber and I just did the whole house a nice favor by cleaning this dirty, filthy thing. You guys are all so disgustingly nasty. Who put this fucking lotion thing here? And then it went from there. So I guess the backstory, and I was like, hey dog, like you know this shit would look like shit before this, and it shit looks immaculate now. No elves came in here and did that, so fuck you. That's, I guess that's what it was. So they didn't put that part on there. They didn't put all the cleaning efforts. That's it.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. And
Yeah.
honestly, again, that would be me. I'm a neat freak. I can't deal with dirty people, so I lose my mind in there. But Devin, the question everyone wants to probably know is like, have you ever thought about playing Big Brother again? And are you open to that? Or are you like, I'm done with reality TV?
Yeah, so they asked me to come back and play Big Brother for the internet season. I couldn't. I just got out of the academy. Yeah. I had just got out of the academy out in New Mexico, and I was in my rookie year, and I couldn't. And I said, like, there's no way I'll lose my job. I just moved my family out there. It wasn't going to happen. Would I do it again? Of course I'd do it again. I tell everybody all the time, no, I would never do it again, for the reason I don't think I'd ever be asked to do it again. So if I said I'll never do it again, no, it's Devin's choice, right? But no, of course I would do it again. I would play probably completely different, or maybe I'd play the same. I don't know. But but I don't think that I would ever be asked to go on again. I know I would never be asked to go on again. So, but yeah, I would. It would be nice to be able to, if I could. Yeah.
You never know, Devin. You never know.
It would have to literally, it's never going to happen, but it would have to literally be like a redemption season, a second chances, players that went out too soon or whatever, yada, yada, yada. Or it would have to be like an America vote in. But even if it was like an America vote in, I've been too far removed. And I mean, I think I went back for the BB20 premiere. So it was Christine and I. So we're sitting in the audience, and then they had Kaser and all these other crazy legends running around. And I remember standing underneath this cake, and this is what put it in perspective for me. Like, Kaser doesn't watch Big Brother at all. He doesn't watch shit of Big Brother. He doesn't know what's going on at all. Kaser's like, he goes, hi, I'm Kaser. Takes my hand over this reunion cake thing, and he goes, hey man, I'm Kaser. I don't know who you are. I don't know who any of these people are, bro. I just want to get the hell out of here. And I'm just like, oh, cool, bro. Like that's awesome. But it's guys like that get asked to go back on Big Brother, is what I'm saying. you know? So, yeah. So, anyways.
Oh, well, Devin, I feel like you have a really good attitude about it. And I think people are going to be excited just to hear from you because, I just love for hearing from people who maybe like don't go right into the spotlight and become an influencer right away, which again is more of like the last 5 years, I would say, because of, Instagram's ramped up and everything. But yeah, I just like to wrap things up, thinking about your Big Brother experience 10 years out. Is it something that you look on fondly now? Or is it still something you're like, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it's something, I guess, is how I would put it. Grateful to have been there, grateful to have come. Thank you for picking me. Thank you for letting me show my ass for 3 weeks, 28 days on camera. And yeah, thank you. But yeah, real life has to come, at some point in time. So I'm grateful to be able to have been there and look back. But yeah, life is here. So.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for doing this interview. I know you don't do a lot of them, if any. Like, do you do a lot of interviews these days? Yeah, I appreciate
No, this is the first one I've done in years. I think I did one for TMZ on accident. Sorry.
On accident. Did it run up to you?
No, I said something so stupid. I don't feel that way anymore. I love TMZ. Fuck off. Anyways, no. You could find
Well,
it.
yeah, I'm sure someone's gonna find it. But no, thank you for
Mm.
doing this. Like, if you're ever, so inclined that you want to talk about this season or next season, hit me up. I'd love to have you on the podcast, and you can maybe talk about Angela's or Tucker's crazy antics. I don't know what's going on over there, but it's been fun.
No, yeah, for sure. Thank you so much again for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time just to reach out for and thinking of
Of
me. So,
course.
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Of course. And for the listeners, please like and subscribe. I will be back with more interviews, hopefully. And yeah.